Read two more poems. I lost my father at the beginning of 2006, and I have a couple of elegies I want to read. This is also from Quantum Lyrics. This is called The Structure of Scientific Revolutions. I placed the trombone back on its stand after attempting Summertime in C major. Childhood memories of band camp and lessons streamed to my embouchure, hands and gut. After the ringing in my head has passed and the notes settle, it seems, at my feet. I linger on a photograph of my family, my parents, brothers, and nephew. I suppose I stare off into it longer than I mean to, thinking of my father, dead 8 months now. The color image blurs a bit on this print, not recalling his smile as I recall it in memory. And also, the camera didn't know this would be his last photo. So the occasion was captured with people moving like apparitions in the background, more than the spirit of the man in the midst of it all. Even with digital cameras, there's still a pointillist dotting flesh on the faces of my family. I shake my head to clear the trance and turn on the television. First, news of a woman raped. The pundits keep the stress on alleged. I think of all the women who are watching TV now. I turn the channel to a rerun of CSI. All this technology, yet we still can't prove rape. What's the use of suspending disbelief? I turn the TV off and sit back down to the horn, but it's still next to the photo. This time I notice my father's hand at rest on my nephew's shoulder. My nephew might be practicing his cello as I sit in front of this brass, which turns to folk art in my hands. I don't really play anymore, you know. I once thought music would be my life, and it's simply too easy to try to play and say, that's enough. Too easy to say, at least my nephew plays strings. Nothing changes that easily. It's in the way the mouthpiece refuses to kiss me back, how the ceiling fan whirs in the room, yet humidity hangs in the air. A need builds in me only after struggle builds around me, a mythical ether challenging this horn with its song stuck in its throat. Memory, the present moment, and all the notes falling between them, struggling to get out. This is the last poem. I was just thinking while I was reading this poem, my nephew right now is at a cello recital in Akron, Ohio, playing. So. This is the last poem, another elegy. There's a quick reference to C. Delores Tucker. I don't know if people remember who this woman is, but she was a civil rights activist. She was Secretary of the State of Pennsylvania at one point, but she's most known for being the person who is responsible for the explicit lyrics labeling on rap music. She had a landmark case between the Two Live Crew and Tupac Shakur in the 90s. And at the time, people were thinking, oh, this woman's crazy. Why is she worrying about this stuff? And now we have these videos and things that we deal with today. So this is called R&B. I just want to say thank you again to Tom and Georgia Tech and Ginger Murchison for inviting me here. And just good to finally meet David Kirby. This is R&B. Listen long enough to the radio and you'll think maybe C. Delores Tucker was right. While the hip world is falling in love with rappers with marquee quality prison records, I'm falling deeper under the spell of singers who can still play piano. I never needed my female vocalists to look good in a thong to feel their voices in my bones. I never needed the male crooners to carry guns to know they'd kill for love. I said this the other night driving through Akron, Ohio, a week after my father's funeral, trying to find a station without gangster rap or smooth jazz. For years I watched my father die, and when the day came, my father had already predicted the Chicago White Sox would win it all this year. And on the TV in his hospice care room, as he took his last breath, Jermaine Dye hit the first home run in the series. This is all over now. November. Trees on front lawns rustle, and globes on street lamps rattle in a determined wind. I'm looking for fast food and some music to change my mood and the weather. In these silent moments, I listen, open to any sign or savior I can find. I pass a half-lit neon Arby's roast beef sign struggling through a dark night of orbiting debris. I can barely tell whether they're open or closed, so I take a chance, turn around, and fall into its orbit as well. I walk in and see two young black men, young brothers to me, with cornrows in their hair and each carrying about 50 pounds more than they should on their young bones, standing behind the counter. One brother asked me if he can take my order, but I can't think about roast beef. I think, why is he so overweight as a teenager? I think, what is he going to look like when he's 41, my age? I think, what is he going to look like if he makes it to 77, my father's age when he died? I shake my head and tell him I'm not ready. I try to focus on food. I'm having a hard time because the music is so loud, some alternative rock with an emo boy voice. Once I order, the brother who took my order starts to argue with the one making my sandwich, and when I think the argument is getting too loud, when I think they burst into laughter, and they stop, and they look at me, and then they look at each other. The brother on the grill nods to the brother at the register, who then, with great earnestness, makes a request to me. Sir, could you please tell him that that is not Al Green? I said, of course that's not Al Green. Then the brother on the sandwich says, nah, not what's playing out there, pointing towards me, what's playing back here, pointing behind him. The register brother says, I don't think you can hear it. So they start to sing, For the Love of You, in harmony and falsetto. When they finish their set, the brother on the register says, tell him that's Ron Isley. Yes, I exclaim, that is the Isley Brothers. The sandwich brother confesses, I know. I wanted to see if you could tell the difference, but you got to admit, on some of those songs, Al Green sounds a lot like Ron Isley. Here I insert a caesura while I ponder this cogent point. You know, I say, you've got a point. I never thought about it before, but it's true. If you listen to Ron Isley and didn't know the song, one might mistake him for Al Green. At this moment, I laugh with these brothers louder than I've laughed since my father's death. I'm their last customer, so the brother comes from behind the register to let me out and lock the door. I get outside and walk to my car and get on with what's left of my life as wind tears at the earth, leaves settle around the streets, and daylight subdues again, till one day, through a near-closed window in my mind, I'll see these two young men among the generation I once thought only sampled R&B. I'll hear the vibrato in their voices, and the mind's dust will wipe away. With their song, the sharp prongs of moonlight will catch me smiling, a silly look of hope, an equation of time and memory, breaking through at least 2 generations of my blood. Thank you.